You're gonna be fine. You are gonna beat this world. I know you. You are smart, and you are strong, and you are so brave. And I love you.
Love you too.
You promise me you'll always do what's right.
Carl! Carl! Dear Carl, I remember. I forgot who I was. You made me remember. I remember that feeling, walking with you that day. Like I finally knew who I was for the first time in my life. Thing is, we were walking side by side, but you were bringing me somewhere, bringing me here, bringing all of us to the new world.
You told me that I was gonna beat this world. I didn't.
The death of Carl Grimes will go down as one of the most puzzling decisions by a TV show ever made. Scott Gimple, you have blood on your hands. For many long-time viewers of The Walking Dead, this was the final straw, and lots of people just stopped watching the show altogether after this incident. But not many people know that this not only killed The Walking Dead, but Carl's death also killed another TV show, causing their ratings to plummet. So in this video, we will be delving into the devastating death of Carl Grimes, starting with the effect that it had on the Walking Dead main show. The Walking Dead is famous for not being afraid to kill off its most beloved characters. However, in the later seasons of the show, the writers started to just kill characters off for shock value, which made little to no sense or impact on the story. However, the straw that broke the camel's back was the death of Carl Grimes. The character had been in the show since the first season, and the audience had watched Carl grow up from a small kid not knowing his place in the world to a survival specialist and a very strong member of the group. Many people credit Carl's death to be the beginning of the end for The Walking Dead, and it's hard to argue against these claims as the show saw its viewership plummet to the lowest point it had been since season 1 after the death of Carl Grimes. I think many fans feel like Carl's death was meaningless and had no implications within the storyline, and it just kind of happened, which when killing off a character like Carl Grimes is unacceptable, a character who in the comics lives until the very end. So why did the show kill off Carl Grimes in this way? Fans speculate that there are two reasons for the death of Carl. Scott Gimple stated that they intended to keep Negan around as he was a fan favourite character, so they needed a plot point in order to keep him alive. This eventually ended up being Carl's death, as when Carl died, he wrote several letters addressed to various characters. This ultimately convinces Rick to spare Negan's life due to it being his late son's dying request. So essentially what Scott Gimple is saying is he sacrificed the character of Carl for the character of Negan, which is an outright horrible decision. Don't get me wrong, Negan is a brilliant character and I really enjoyed his redemption arc. However, you could have done the Negan redemption arc without killing Carl. And then there's the second reason. So fans speculate it was due to the actor Chandler Briggs turning 18 years old and they didn't want to pay the actor an adult wage, so they killed him off before he could be paid as a full adult. Which is especially sad as the actor Chandler Briggs had just bought a house in Atlanta to be closer to the set, just for him to be told days later that his character was going to be killed off unexpectedly. This caused Chandler's father to fire a couple of shots at Scott Gimple via Twitter. However, the messages have since been deleted and Chandler Riggs is still very vocal about his support to the show to this day. So at least behind the scenes, all seems well. But the decision to kill Carl is still baffling to me, as the writers knew Andrew Lincoln wanted to leave the show, so it only made sense to make Carl the main character, or at least one of them. But what we got was season 9 with Rick and Michonne gone, there wasn't a clear main character, and they were always going to be fighting an uphill battle trying to get audiences to like the new characters that season 9 introduced. And I don't care how good the writers are, it is basically impossible to make a new set of characters the main ones 9 seasons into a show. Now obviously we still had Carol and Daryl, but these two made brilliant side characters. It's always going to be hard for them to transition into the main roles. I just think leaving Carl alive would have made the post Rick Grimes era of the show a lot smoother transition for fans to accept, and Carl's character was far from finished, so I would have loved to seen him stay alive and finish his character arc. But the character death of Carl was so bad that it actually ruined another TV show, which I will get into now. Fear the Walking Dead first aired in 2015 and was a spin-off show set in the same universe as The Walking Dead, which followed a small group of survivors traverse their way around the fall of humanity in the early days of the apocalypse, which is a concept fans have been crying out for ages. The interesting spin-off was midway through season 3 when Carl's death happened in the main show, and the early seasons of this show had been a smash hit. Fans loved the concept and especially loved the new cast of characters and how it felt like a breath of fresh air from the main show. So you may be wondering to yourself, how on earth did Carl's death ruin the promising spin-off show? Well, after the death of Carl, fans put immense pressure on Scott Gimple being fired as the showrunner. However, he wasn't in fact fired, but promoted to the Chief Content Officer. So AMC essentially rewarded this man for making one of the dumbest decisions in TV, and it made no sense. So the first thing Scott Gimple did in charge of Fear, well, it was to fire Dave Erickson, the showrunner, and this proved a costly mistake for AMC. Dave Erickson had originally planned for Fear to run for 7 seasons and focus mainly on the Clark family, and more specifically fan favourite character Nick Clark, eventually having his mother Madison turn evil and he would have to take her out at the end of season 7. Now, Nick Clark was the heart and soul of Fear the Walking Dead, and with Erickson fired, Nick's actor Frank Delane no longer wanted to continue with the show, so he asked to be killed off, basically killing the show along with him as viewership and ratings plummeted with his departure. Also, with Erickson gone, Scott Gimple turned Fear into the Morgan Jones show, which wouldn't have been that bad if he didn't take the spotlight away from the group we had spent 3 seasons following and grew attached to. It also just ruined the unique vibe of the show and just made it feel like a B-Tech version of the main series. Not to mention how bad the later seasons of Fear become, and season 4 was all about them running around making a documentary in the apocalypse. I mean, come on, when fans of a zombie show are calling it far-fetched, you know you're doing something wrong. So basically, the uproar from fans to remove Scott Gimple because of his decision to kill Carl Grimes resulted in the promising spin-off show going downhill fast. But this not only killed the spin-off show, but the Walking Dead universe's world-building skills. Let's talk about how. AMC had intended on making a Walking Dead universe that felt alive and large. However, bringing the group from Fear to Texas, from Mexico, and stuffing the cast with a load of characters from the main show just made the world feel so much smaller, killing any momentum they had previously built up. The Walking Dead universe should have been peak TV, but AMC ruined it, and with the fall of Fear, the world building aspect became so empty. And it just hurt to think that this was all a direct consequence from Carl's death in the main show. As such a huge fan of the franchise, the death of Carl pains me so much, as I'd give anything to see him not die in the main show, and to have Dave Erickson make the full 7 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead. But with Carl's death being directly responsible for the decline of 2 TV shows and possibly the whole Walking Dead universe, it just makes you question how different would things have been if Carl Grimes was still here. Thank you so much for watching, and if you guys want to learn more about what made the early seasons of Fear the Walking Dead so amazing, and how Nick's death killed Fear the Walking Dead, then you can head over to my channel and check them out. Once again, a massive thank you for all the support. Until next time.